Bold opening. The trade season is here, and every move now could redefine the playoff picture. But here's where it gets controversial. Not every team will act, and some will chase very different goals than others. This is a thorough, user-friendly rewrite of the original NBA trade deadline tiers, preserving all key details while expanding with clarity and context. Tier 1. Buyers looking to contend. Detroit Pistons. The Pistons aren't required to swing big at the deadline, but they're in a prime position to build on their recent gains and widen the gap in the Eastern Conference. Their early season schedule had some artificial noise, as they mostly beat weaker teams. Yet Detroit showcased genuine competitiveness, and should prove it against tougher opponents. They could use more scoring to ease the burden on Cade Cunningham. A bold move could involve pairing Lauri Markkanen with Jalen Duren, while offering up picks and perhaps Jaden Ivey. Detroit should push hard in the East. New York Knicks. The Knicks' story centers on the Giannis Antetokounmpo pursuit if he becomes available. On the surface, this team appears well-constructed and capable of winning the East without Giannis. But the franchise built by Leon Rose is designed to pursue a superstar if the opportunity arises. If they don't pursue Giannis, some might call that a strategic misstep for a team with real championship potential. A Giannis-Brunson pairing wouldn't be perfect, yet the club could benefit from added punch off the bench or a complementary scorer. This is also a franchise that could explore pairing a star with depth to push for the trophy. Milwaukee Bucks. This one's straightforward. The Bucks will stay active to improve the roster unless Giannis explicitly asks out. The catch is their draft pick situation. Controls through 2030 limit leverage in trades, and the rest of the roster isn't exceptionally enticing for big deals. A potential edge case is if they move a player like Miles Turner for depth, but that would create a need at center. A move could hinge on whether they can maximize spacing and defense around Giannis. Atlanta Hawks. Interestingly, the Hawks have looked better without Trae Young, with Jalen Johnson emerging as a standout. Young's contract situation is unresolved, as he'll be a free agent in the summer, and the team holds New Orleans' unprotected 2026 first-round pick as a valuable asset. A dramatic scenario could involve Young being traded to recalibrate the franchise, especially if a strong offer arrives. The Hawks could be buyers to contend by ensuring they have other pieces around a potential star. San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs amount to a strategic amplifier in this tier. If they choose to pursue Giannis, they're positioned to leverage their wealth of young talent and a Minnesota 2030 pick. In-season turnover isn't typical for San Antonio, but last season showed they can disrupt norms when a big opportunity presents itself. They could press the accelerator and push Western Conference elites to respond. Toronto Raptors. Toronto's strong start has quieted some criticism about the cost of their roster. Darko Rajakovic has them playing well, yet the ceiling for this group is uncertain in a wide-open East. They could explore adding another big for balance alongside Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram, testing whether they can push deeper than expected. The Raptors might reframe their approach to keep themselves from becoming a one-and-done story this season. Miami Heat. Similar to the Knicks, the Heat's front office has long pursued top-tier talent. They haven't fully cashed in on marquee targets like Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, or Bradley Beal, and Giannis has periodically floated as a possibility. The Heat could use improved perimeter spacing to complement their up-tempo attack. They could consider dangling players like Kel'el Ware or Bam Adebayo to pry a game-changing addition, but any move would need careful fit and cap management. New Orleans Pelicans. With Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver at the helm, anything feels possible for New Orleans. They've shown a willingness to make aggressive, even bold moves, evidenced by past decisions that traded up for Derek Queen and sent an unprotected pick to Atlanta. They're not content to sit and watch, aiming to convert current struggles into a competitive swing. Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers may not blow things up, but they're in a position to reach the play-in by improving their outside shooting. They're among the league's worst three-point teams, and enhancing that area could unlock more wins with a healthy roster. A measured upgrade in shooting could be all they need to climb in a crowded Western Conference. Chicago Bulls. The Bulls face a crossroads they've teased for seasons. Commit to a title run or embrace a longer-term rebuild. They're currently stuck in the middle and losing in the play-in. They'll need a definitive direction and should pursue either a legitimate scorer or a lockdown defender, or ideally both, to improve enough to secure a play-in spot. Tier 2. Sellers aiming for lottery night opportunity. Dallas Mavericks. Derek Lively's season-ending injury doesn't necessarily derail their plans. The Mavericks may look to move pieces like Daniel Gafford, or even consider trading for assets that boost future flexibility. Publicly, they'll emphasize winning, but the reality could tilt toward rebuilding around young talent, including Cooper Flagg, and ensuring a stronger draft position outlook. Utah Jazz. The Jazz flirt with being competitive enough to complicate the lottery, but that stance could shift. If they want more assets or a stronger draft outlook, they could entertain deals like moving Lauri Markkanen. Note: Utah's top 8 protection on the pick to OKC remains a crucial lever in any negotiations. Sacramento Kings. This season has underachieved, especially with Domantas Sabonis injured. They've shown some trade interest in DeMar DeRozan and Dennis Schroeder, and Malik Monk has drawn league-wide interest for a while. If the goal is to reignite fan excitement, they might pursue younger stars via draft night moves, though the market for such returns is uncertain. Brooklyn Nets. Claxton could re-enter trade discussions, given the team's position and the potential to recalibrate without fearing lottery implications. Veterans like Terrence Mann could draw interest as well. Brooklyn's path may involve reshaping their core while competing for lower-tier assets and draft capital. Tier 3. Cutting apron strings. Boston Celtics. The Celtics are thriving, yet their roster isn't necessarily locked in for the long haul. They're currently just inside the first apron, and could explore trading a cost-controlled asset or two to gain financial flexibility. Clearing cap space would also allow them to revisit long-term plans around Jason Tatum's health and any summer roster rebuilds. Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs may prefer to stand pat, but their 64-win season now meets second-apron restrictions. With ongoing luxury tax concerns and a sizable $22 million hit in the second apron, they might shed a contract to ease the tax burden and preserve flexibility for a future push. Golden State Warriors. Expect the Warriors to tread carefully, nearing the second apron threshold and hard-capped by the first apron rules. They must weigh Jonathan Kuminga's role after his extension and potential matchups with other teams interested in him. A strategic move could involve trimming payroll while pursuing a cost-efficient upgrade. Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers face budget discipline in the apron era, especially after letting Paul George potentially move on. With a slim margin under the first apron, they'll likely pursue cheaper, flexible pieces rather than big-ticket additions. The Thunder hold their first-round pick next year, which tempers aggressive moves. Tier 4. Gaining assets. Phoenix Suns. The Suns aren't likely to overhaul their core, but they can still move peripheral pieces like Royce O'Neal or Grayson Allen to gain future flexibility or additional assets without sacrificing on-court quality. They may stay patient and reassess in the summer. Indiana Pacers. Indiana should consider a big man upgrade to complement Tyrese Halliburton's timeline, anticipating the long road ahead without him returning soon. They have roster flexibility to pursue a more permanent solution at the 5, and to protect their competitive framing for next season. Philadelphia 76ers. Daryl Morey thrives on aggressive, value-driven deals. With Embiid's health uncertain, he may pursue a high-value role player or maneuver for another draft asset. Don't be surprised if the Sixers probe for big ads or sneaky draft picks to strengthen their championship window. Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies could also stand pat, but their front office appears inclined to balance present needs with future assets. Acquiring additional picks or versatile players could strengthen their bid for sustained success around Ja Morant. Washington Wizards. The Wizards have rebuilt with a clear plan, cap flexibility and draft assets. They're well positioned to act as a third or fourth team, absorbing contracts in exchange for additional picks or futures that help them accelerate a broader rebuild. Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets remain in a transitional phase, having not yet found a long-term, winning formula. They've been active in asset gathering, and adding picks and players could be a first step toward a broader overhaul. A major rebuild will require more drastic moves, but incremental asset collection is a plausible path. Tier 5. Standing pat. Minnesota Timberwolves. The Wolves would love another offensive initiator, but they're near the second apron boundary.